Ever find yourself craving takeout after a long day? You're just getting comfy and bam, food at the door. It's like magic almost.
It's definitely become a modern day luxury.
Totally. But during those few minutes between hitting order and the doorbell ringing, have you ever stopped to think about the person on the other side of that app, the one actually bringing you your pad thai? We're doing a deep dive today on the people behind those deliveries gig economy drivers.
Oh yeah, it's something most of us don't really think about, I guess.
Right. We're going to be digging into a podcast episode from @Charles Digital Diaries. It's a conversation between this delivery driver, Charles, and then Gabriel, who's like a big advocate for gig workers. And let me tell you, they don't hold back.
Should be interesting.
Oh, it is. So Charles starts talking about, his average workday. And honestly, I'm not even sure average is the right word. He was saying he logs onto the app and it's kind of a gamble. Like no set schedule or anything. He's just hoping there are enough people ordering to even make any money. Makes you think.
That's a big difference from like a traditional 9 to 5.
Huge. And then get this, he mentions this whole thing about multi-stop deliveries. Basically, they're now sending drivers to pick up like 3 different orders from 3 different places at once. I had never even considered that.
Oh wow. I can see how that would get complicated.
Right. Like at first I thought more deliveries, more money, right?
Yeah, it seems logical.
But Charles is saying it's not that simple, not anymore.
How so?
Well, it's the way they're calculating the pay now. He said it used to be based on the distance from the restaurant to your house, right, for each individual customer.
Okay.
Now they just calculate it from the restaurant to like the first drop off on their list, and then it's some tiny fee for every delivery after that.
Oh wow. So they're doing like double, triple the work for practically the same amount.
That's what I'm thinking. It's kind of crazy when you actually stop and think about it, huh? You're right. Getting 3 things delivered for $5. Not so much of a steal anymore when you think about what the driver's actually getting.
Yeah, and Charles was saying it's not even just the money. It puts this insane amount of pressure on them. Like trying to make every delivery on time when you've got multiple orders. You almost have to compromise on quality just to keep up.
Right. It made me realize, like, how many times has my food arrived late or cold and I'm thinking, ugh, this restaurant, but what if it's not them? What if it's actually the driver just slammed with all these extra stops? It definitely makes those, your food is on the way, notifications hit different now.
It makes you wonder, too, how often those negative reviews are misdirected at the restaurants when it's really about something totally different.
Exactly, but wait, it gets wilder. So then Charles is talking about how not only are they doing more deliveries for less money, but the delivery fees themselves are actually going down.
Serious?
No, I'm serious. And this is with everything else getting more expensive, right? Like inflation, gas prices.
Yeah, talk about bad timing. Right.
Right. How are these guys even supposed to survive, let alone earn a decent living? It's mind-blowing. It almost makes those free delivery deals feel kind of, I don't know, like a warning sign or something.
For sure.
So what's the solution here? How do we even begin to fix this whole mess?
Well, this is where Gabriel, the advocate, comes in. He talks about what needs to happen to make things fairer for these gig workers.
Okay, yeah, I'm listening. What's his take?
So his thing is like a 3-step approach, right? And the first one is all about transparency.
Transparency, yeah, that makes sense. Got to know what you're dealing with before you can even try to fix it.
Exactly. A lot of times drivers don't even know how the app is calculating their pay. Like it's this big mystery algorithm controlling their income.
Right, which is crazy. How can you fight for better pay if you don't even know how they're coming up with the number in the first place?
Exactly. And that actually leads to his second point, which is fair compensation. So Gabriel's whole thing is drivers should be paid in a way that actually reflects all the work they do and all the risks they take.
Absolutely. Because let's be real, they're out there dealing with traffic, crazy weather, like that snowstorm we had back in January. And some of them are even putting their safety on the line, especially late at night. It's a lot.
Yeah. And we just don't really think about all of that when we're like anxiously waiting for our dinner.
It's true. We get so caught up in the convenience, we forget there's a real person on the other end of that app dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah. It's easy to forget.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into Gabriel's last point, which is regulation.
Yeah.
He's saying like, maybe the government needs to step in to make sure these gig workers are being treated fairly, getting paid a living wage, all that.
Yeah, that's a big one. I can see how that could be kind of controversial.
Right. Like, some people probably think it'll ruin the whole gig economy thing, but then others, like Gabriel, they think it's the only way to protect workers.
Yeah.
No easy answers. It's a tough one.
For sure. So where do we go from here? Like, what can we as customers actually do to help make things better?
Well, Gabriel's point is, like, this industry, it's slow to change, right? It's going to take all of us, customers and workers, to put pressure on them to make things right.
So we all got to step up. What does that even look like? I mean, practically speaking.
Well, I mean, for one, we can start by just being aware of the problem, right? Like we're doing now. And then support those companies, vote for policies that support fair treatment of workers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's small, it all adds up.
It's weird, you know? I gotta say, before this whole deep dive thing, I never even thought twice about ordering in. It was just like easy, convenient, done. But now it's like, I don't know, I'm seeing the whole picture a little differently, the person behind the wheel, all the stuff they gotta deal with. It makes you realize your choices actually have an impact. It's a lot to take in.
I hear ya. But hey, at least now you're aware of it, right?
That's true. Awareness is the first step, I guess, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe next time you're about to order some food, just take a second.
Yeah.
You know, think about where it came from, who brought it to you, all that. Ask yourself, am I okay with what had to happen to get this food to my door?
Yes, yeah. That's something to think about. Makes you think. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us for this one, folks. Until next time.
Okay, so we've all been there, right? Late night craving, or maybe it's pouring rain and you just need a ride. Gig economy, it's everywhere. But today, we're gonna really look into the lives of the people behind those apps, specifically delivery riders here in the UK. And get this, some riders are having their accounts shut down, like out of the blue, no warning. Turns out, algorithms, those things, they're calling the shots, often leaving workers feeling totally powerless. To break this all down, we got Luke with us. He's a delivery rider who's been there, done that. Luke, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So account closures, you've dealt with that firsthand. Can you walk us through it? What was that like?
Imagine this, you're out doing your deliveries, everything's normal, right? Later that day, bam, try to log in, account's frozen. No warning, no explanation, nothing, just locked out.
Wow, that's got to be a shock. Did they at least tell you why?
It's like talking to a brick wall, you know? Sometimes algorithm flags suspicious activity, other times nothing. Heard about a guy deactivated because he used the same email for deliveries in his Etsy shop or something. Algorithm couldn't tell the difference.
So these algorithms, they're making huge decisions about people's lives, but no one really knows how they work.
It's interesting, right? We use these services, but don't always think about the human cost.
Exactly. And Luke, you lived it. What happens when your account shut down? How do you pay rent if that's your income?
That's the scary part. One minute you're working, the next you're in limbo. You're fighting to get your account back, but the process is a maze. And meanwhile, bills pile up. No safety net, no sick pay, nothing. You're on your own.
All the responsibility of a job, none of the security. And Luke, you mentioned these right-to-work checks. What's up with those?
It's crazy, right? I'm British, born and raised here, but they keep asking me to prove I can work, sometimes multiple times a month. Like they're trying to find a reason to deactivate me.
Wait, so even though you're a citizen, you constantly have to reapprove yourself. That's wild. Don't they need drivers like you to, actually run their business?
And that's where it gets really interesting. To understand this, we got to look at the bigger picture.
Okay, I'm listening. Lay it on me.
Labor and conservatives, they both kind of let this gig economy thing explode. It's appealing, right? Flexibility, innovation, all that. But it's come at the expense of workers' rights.
So they're basically ignoring what's happening to people like Luke because it's, easier to just let it happen?
Yeah, kind of. And these companies, they're not exactly small fry. They've got power, money, influence, and they use it to fight any rules that might actually give workers rights.
Like what kind of rules are we talking about?
Well, take classifying gig workers as employees, for example. Right now, they're independent contractors, which is a huge deal. Employees get minimum wage, sick pay, holiday pay, basic stuff. Gig workers, not so much.
So by avoiding that employee label, these companies get to skip out on a whole bunch of responsibility financially, legally, everything.
Exactly. And it's not just one company or one thing. It's like the whole system is set up this way. Until voters make a fuss or the government steps up or even people start choosing services differently, I don't see it changing.
So we're kind of stuck. The government doesn't want to rock the boat. Companies like things as they are. So what can guys like Luke actually do?
It's tough, for sure, but not hopeless. First thing, write everything down. Every delivery, every time they ask you to prove you can work here, keep a record. It's about having evidence if things go sideways.
Smart. Like just in case you need to prove what happened.
Right. And if something does go wrong, find a workers' organization, talk to them. They can give you advice, help you understand your rights. There's power in numbers.
So even though this system makes you feel alone, finding other people in the same boat is important. What about us, though? We use these apps all the time. Anything we can do to help make things better?
Absolutely. First off, just knowing about this stuff is huge. Support laws that protect gig workers. And honestly, think about where you're spending your money.
You're saying choose companies that treat their workers fairly.
Exactly. We vote with our wallets, right? If we support ethical companies, it sends a message to everyone else that this is what we expect.
Makes sense. Luke, back to you for a sec. Hearing all this, clearly, something's got to change. What would make the biggest difference for riders like you? It's easy to get sucked in by how easy it is,
Yeah.
And then you hear what Luke's been through, and it makes you stop and think.
At the end of the day, just treat us with respect. We're out there working hard, rain or shine, doing something people need. We deserve some basic fairness, some transparency, not feel like disposable robots,
Totally. That feeling of being valued for what you do.
Yeah.
Luke, thanks for keeping it real with us. It's been eye-opening. An expert speaker, thanks for breaking this all down, giving us some ways to actually help.
Happy to be here. This gig economy thing, it's huge, right? It's not going anywhere. But how it changes, how it affects workers, all of us, that's still up in the air, we all got to do our part to shape how this goes.
That's our deep dive for today, folks. We dug into the UK gig economy, specifically the ups and downs of being a delivery rider. We heard directly from Luke about what it's really like and learned about the bigger issues that don't always make headlines. As customers, we might feel kind of powerless. But like we heard, what we choose, where we spend our money, it has ripple effects. So next time you're about to order some food, think about that. It's not just about convenience, it's about supporting a system that's fair for everyone. Keep asking questions, stay informed, and remember there's real people behind those apps. Until next time.